So let me go. Some advertisement for the next big event in Las Vegas, where we will have the Microsoft 365 collaboration conference. Not only SharePoint anymore, but also Power Platform and Microsoft Teams. Thank you for all the generous sponsors who've been making this event possible. And if you want to win one of these Oculus, then go to the raffle, watch the little advertisements during the sessions, and then you will be able to answer the questions. And also nice of this community is that they're giving 10% of their sponsors to community relief. So thank you very much for that. I think in times like this, it's a very good way to get some money. Okay, so we're going to talk about extending Power Virtual Agent with QnA Maker. But before we do that, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Sammy Deprez. I'm based in Belgium, in Ghent, Belgium. I'm a family man and father of two. I'm partner and senior consultant at Arinti, which is a firm based here in Belgium, which is specialized in the Microsoft AI stack. Since the 1st of April, I'm a Microsoft AI MVP, and I'm a core member at Data Minds at the Global AI community. And within the Global AI community, I organize the weekly AI Talks Live. It's a YouTube show where we discuss specific topics every week. You can find my blog www.datafish.eu, and my Twitter handle you can see here. If you have any questions afterwards, you can always send me a tweet or a message on my blog. Now, what are we going to discuss today? Well, what is a chatbot? What is Power Virtual Agent? What is QnA Maker? For some people, it might be new. Of course, we're going to demo, and then we'll discuss a bit of, okay, what is missing in the tool and how could you fix that? And then a very important one is also pricing. Now, to start with, what is a chatbot? Well, a chatbot on itself, it's just an app, like any other app. But the difference between it is that the input is in another way. In another app, you might have visuals more and clicking and stuff. Now, in a chatbot, you have text. So in this case, in this picture, you see a blue man asking, okay, I want a bike. And the green man is wondering, okay, but what kind of bike could that be? Well, that same problem is within a chatbot. You might ask for a certain thing, but it might mean multiple different things. So you need to go deeper into it. Now, except the input, also your interface looks different. You only have a certain amount of things that you can show, and that depends again on what platform you're using, of what you can show. You can show videos and stuff. It's all possible, but that again depends if you're using what kind of chatbot platform you're using. Now, chatbots on itself is not really new. The first chatbot was built in the 60s already, and that was built by Joseph Weizenbaum. He was a professor at MIT. He sadly died in 2008. The chatbot on itself was made to mimic human conversations, and it tried to match words in your message to a list of possible scripted resources. And actually that had a hard and big impact on how NLP is done right now. Now, the funny thing is that he intended that Eliza would be a caricature of a human conversation and a bit as a psychologist. And people were actually telling their problems and thoughts to Eliza. Now, at that time, experts declared that chatbots would be indistinguishable from humans within a small number of years. Well, we also said that about self-driving cars. Self-driving cars would have been available already, well, just a couple of years ago. So you don't see my slides. Okay, that's a bit pity to go on, because then I can also not show a demo. Okay, guys, then you know what? go to my, keep track of my blog. I will record this session and I'm gonna put it online so you can at least see it. So I'm sorry
Sammy,
for this.
What's going on?
Hi? Sorry?
So what's going on?
What is going on? No one can see my screen.
I can see it.
Because
give me a sec.
No screen sharing. I only see the title card, people are saying.
Hi.
Yeah, one sec. Because it shows up fine on this end. So just go ahead and carry on. I'll look at this. Go ahead and carry on with the presentation, because we'll at least have the recording, and I'll see if I can what I see as an attendee. So give me a sec.
Okay. I go on or not, or wait?
Yeah, go ahead and go on.
Okay. All right. Okay. So back to the presentation. So chatbots is nothing new at all. Now, as I said before, at that time, people were also thinking that we would have self-driving cars very soon. Now, we're getting closer to that, but also to bots that can understand everything, well, and is undisguisable from a human. We're also getting closer to it, but still, there's still a big gap. And the test that they do is a Turing test, and the Turing test says that the computer or a machine needs to have the capability of thinking like a human. Now, that's kind of hard for a chatbot. Well, it's just hard on itself, because if you ask someone something, he might know of all different things, something, and might be able to connect those things. Now, that's general AI, and we're not close to that yet. So we hope in the future we will have that. Might have some dangers also with it, but that's another topic. Now, Power Virtual Agent. What is Power Virtual Agent? Well, it's a business tool, and as the title says, it's for quick startup and production time. So it's code-free, so it's perfect for business or subject matters, and there's no need for AI expertise or developers. So it's an easy way to build multi-turn conversations and understand input. And talking to backend systems is also perfectly possible with out-of-the-box tools and authentication too. Now, within Power Virtual Agent, you have a nice way also to see what how your bot is doing, where you need to train it a bit better, where you need to add some extra things to make it more clear. So you can make an improvement in different iterations, like any software tool. Now that's Power Virtual Agent. Today we're talking about extending Power Virtual Agent with QnA Maker. So I also want to introduce QnA Maker. Now, to ask a question to the public, you can answer it through the chat if you want. What company of Elon Musk's make flamethrowers? I give you a second to answer on it. Boring Company. Now, the Boring Company has, of course, a website like many other companies have. And what they also have, like many others, is, well, let's have a look at it. Okay, so if we go to the website of the Boring Company, is this now playing or not? Okay, we have an FAQ. And on the FAQ, what do you have? Well, you have questions and answers, questions and answers. And actually what we would like to do is we want to build this within a chatbot to have it in a more interactive way, being able to question all these details. So what we do, we copy this link of the page and we go to QnAMaker.ai, where we go and create a new knowledge base, so where all the data is saved. We select also the language, so we set English, and we give it a name, the knowledge base. So in this case, we call it the Boring Company knowledge base, and we just say, and we add also the URL of the website, and we create the knowledge base. So now it's extracting all the data that is available within that website, just to give it a second. And there it is. So we have every question plus answers that are added to this well, table or index, you could say. Now you might see this first one, this we can remove because this was the introduction to the FAQ. There's always going to be a little cleanup that needs to be done, what is normal. So then we say save and train. Data is now trained, and now we can actually start and testing it. So now we have here the question, why tunnels? But I'm asking, what about tunnels, for example? And then we get a full answer of what was linked in the FAQ. So it does need to be one-on-one. There is NLP behind it to link it to the perfect item. Now there's a confidence score also. So the lower that confidence is, well, the less sure the QnA Maker service is that this is actually the answer. You can train your bot, well, this knowledge base more by adding extra alternative phrasing, or even adding lists of synonyms. This is done in the backend. Now, QnA Maker, as you saw, it's also without any code. It has automatic extraction. Again, as we saw, we have the link of the FAQ that we copied and we just pasted into the service, and it gets all the data back. An extra feature it has is multi-turn conversation. What is that? Well, let's imagine you're building a chatbot for a city council, and someone is asking the question, I'm looking for a school. Okay, but that's a very general question. So what kind of school are you looking for? Are you looking for a university, for a music school, maybe for a sports school? Now, these are sub-questions that you can ask, and based with this multi-turn conversation, you can build a tree of different questions that can be asked and linked to each other. Now, another nice feature is active learning. Sometimes you might have a question that is asked by a user and two answers that are very close to each other in the scoring. Now, if they're very close to each other, QnA Maker will decide if it, instead of sending one answer, it will send the two questions back and will ask the user, did you mean this or did you mean that? And based on what the user is saying, this will be added back into the system to retrain it. Now, of course, scaling is very important. If you have built a chatbot for 10 users or you build one for 1 million users, that's perfectly possible within the service. And of course, there's many languages already supported. I'm very happy Dutch is included. Here in Belgium, we speak Dutch, so that's good. Okay, enough theory. Let's look into some code and see how it's possible. We'll start with Power Virtual Agent. Actually, this is not the landing page. That's this one. So powervirtualagents.microsoft.com, and then you click sign in. And here you just log in. Okay, here we are. So what do we see on the left side? Home as every app. Topics, entities, analytics, where we will see our reports, a way to publish our bot also, and then manage some settings like where do you want to get your bot running on, which is only on a website, or is it also on Facebook and so on, including authentication and skills, but that I will talk about later. Now, if we go to topics, I need to explain something between topics and entities first. Now, within a chatbot, you have conversations, okay? And let's say you are building a chatbot that for a pizzeria. Now, when you ask, I want to order a pizza, well, then you need to go to a specific flow to get all the options that you want. Now, maybe you're building a more general chatbot, like for a school, I want to order I want to order these books, or I want to lock I want to book a specific room to do some tests in. So these are all different flows that you will follow, and that's what we configure within topics. So each topic is triggered by specific phrases. So if you look at the lessons that are included, if people are asking, for example here, when are you closed? When are you open? Store hours, daily open hours? Well, then immediately this topic will be called, and it will go through the dialogue of that topic. So if you click then on go to altering canvas, you will see here again the trigger phrases, and then saying, okay, I'm happy to help with store hours, and just respond with that. And I will increase the size of my screen a bit so it's better readable. So let's just try. Hello. Hi, I'm your virtual agent. Actually, this I haven't even implemented. This is by default. So what can I help you with today? Well, when are you closed? And now you see these elements have run. So it's also a good way of debugging it. And immediately after, at the end of conversation, well, it will ask you, did that answer your question? Well, then we can just say, okay, yes, it did. And it will ask us some feedback. Okay, that's fine. We're good with it. Can I help you with anything else? Not at the moment. Okay, this is a very simple topic. Now, what is perfectly possible also, I'm going to the fourth example that is given, is where we're now back to the example of booking, let's say booking a flight. You might say, I want to book a flight. Okay, then you booking flights. Now, people mostly will say, I want to book a flight to JFK, for example. Well, then in that case, you don't want to go into that topic and then again ask your user, where do you want to go to? Well, I just said it. And with entities, we can actually get that data out of it. Now, let me first give you an example of how it could be. Okay, so I'm gonna ask, what is the best product for me? And then ask me, okay, are you a home user, are you a gamer, or are you a business user? I'll say I'm a gamer. And then it asks me, okay, this is the perfect product for you. Do I add it to the cart? I will say no. Yes. So this feedback is also used within the analytics to keep track of how well your chatbot is. Excellent, thank you. Yes, now I want to ask the question differently. I want a gaming laptop. Ha, that was not the purpose. We'll just say as how the question is written here. I want a business laptop. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so it immediately gives me, okay, a Contoso laptop i5, blah, blah, blah. Can I add it to your cart? If we go to the authoring canvas, we will see the initial question that has been asked. It's loading. So here we have the item, ask a question. And do you see yourself as a home user, a gamer, or a business user? And identify it as a usage type. And then persons have some options they can choose from, and a response where the response is saved to. Now, if we click on this option part, we have the skip question. Now, with the skip question means that if it's already found in the trigger phrase, it will not ask it again. Now, if we go now to entities and we go to usage types, we will see here the 3 elements and also synonyms that have been added. So if someone is saying home user or home, well, then it will be the entity will be set to home user. Same for gamer or gaming, business user, business user. What you could do, for example, let's create a new entity, car brand. BMW. Here we actually call it sometimes a Beamer, or you could add other things. I can't come up with other synonyms for the brand. No. Okay, and then when you say I want to buy a Beamer or I want to buy a BMW, well, it will immediately take that out as a car brand, and you can use it later in your topics without asking it again. Okay, now this is a bit the basics of Power Virtual Agent, but of course what we want to do is extending it with QnA Maker. Now, to do that, we'll add a new topic and we'll say ask a question. What is not possible within within Power Virtual Agent is configuring here somewhere. This is the knowledge base you can connect to. You need to call a topic before you can call your knowledge base. So we have ask a question, and my trigger phrase is I want to ask something. Okay, we'll add this and we go to the authoring canvas. Now, from here onwards, we don't want to send a message to the user. We want to ask a question. So, what would you like to know? Okay, and then we have different options of what kind of questions that you actually want to ask. We have multiple choice, specific age, then it's recognized also. If it's a Boolean, if you're looking for city and so on. These are all entities that you can find within the entity section, and usage type should also be somewhere here. Now we want to have the full entire response, because it's just a sentence that it will give to us, so user's entire response, and we save the value into a specific response, a value variable. So I'll call this var question. Now this part is quite new. I think it got released now with build, is that these variables can be saved on topic level, but also on bot level. So let's go back to our home, game, or business user. If you have other questions with the same, where you would, well, if you have other topics where the same question is asked, you could add this on bot level, so it also there does need to be re-asked. So that's quite nicely done. But in this case, we'll just keep it on topic. Now we have the question, and what we want to do now is send this question to the QnA Maker service that needs to respond us with an answer. Now, with Power Virtual Agent, as said in the slides, you can call backend systems. The only way to call a backend system is by calling Power Automate flows. So let's go now to Power Automate and see how from there onward we can call an QnA Maker service. Boom, boom. So in Power Automate, let me zoom in also a bit here. Okay, so it's all well readable. We can create a new flow. It's slow, and it's an instant flow. Wait, no, it triggered. Where is it now? Yeah, triggered manually. Yeah, here HTTP triggered. So we click. So we create a new flow. The flow needs to be called when an HTTP request is received. There it is, sorry, and we click create. Now in here we need to say, okay, we have a specific body that is sent to the Power Automate. So we'll just generate a new one where we have a question variable with some question will go here, and now it will generate as the scheme. And now we have this. Okay, next step is to call the knowledge base. So we add a new step, and then we add QnA Maker. And we want to generate an answer based on our question. So this We click answer. And now we need to fill in certain details about the knowledge base. Now I've already made the knowledge base. We'll go to QnA, to the boring company that I had created. If you click on publish, settings. It's loading a little bit. Then here on the bottom, you will see your deployment details. So what we need here is our knowledge base ID. So we can just copy and paste this here. We have our service host, which is actually this full link. Then we have our endpoint key. Please don't copy this. Well, I will just regenerate it afterwards. And then we have a question that we want to ask. Well, we received the question already through the request. So we'll just add this one. Now that's done. Next part we can do is sending back the answer. So I'll add a new step, and that's response, request, and now it should show us response. Now with this, we can add what we want to send back. Now actually I've already built this because there's something tricky about it that I need to didn't copy. Want to be sure I have a working flow in the demo. Come on. Oh, edit. Okay, so as you see, nothing really changed here. We have our request body, the JSON schema. I have generate the answer, and then we respond with stage 200. You can add some extra bodies, but we want to reply with our answer and the score of the QnA Maker. Now, it's interesting also you have here in the advanced options, you have how many answers you want to get back from QnA Maker, because your question might be able to match different answers or different questions. In this case, we'll just keep the top one and the one with the highest scoring, but it still gives us back an array of different answers. So that's why this is not actually, let's see, the dynamic content. We don't really have specific the answer, or we need to iterate over it, but there's no way to iterate and then send multiple responses. So what we have done here is I get the answers, I get the first element, and from that element I get the answer. And we do exactly the same for the scoring. So we go through some JSON query to the exact variable that we want, and that's what we send back to the user. So back to Power Virtual Agent. So we have a way now to get the data out of the knowledge base. Now what we want to do is call an action. So if I click here, call an action. This is the flow I just showed you. Call a QnA Maker built in. And then, okay, we have the variable question. With what do you want to link it? So we have our var question, and we get from Power Automate 2 values back, which is our answer and our score. Now, it might happen that we get answers back that are very low in score, although we asked the top one, but there's no filter on that side. We could add that though in QnA Maker. And the Power Automate flow that those questions are not shown, but let's do it in here to show a bit more about Power Virtual Agent. So we can add here a condition, and we could say if the scoring is less than 0.7, well, then let's say for the moment don't do anything. If it's bigger than or equal to 0.7, then well, show a message. And what we want to show here is, just close this. We want to add our answer as a message to the user. Okay, now let's save this. I'll just go to topics and switch this one off because this is a copy as a backup. Okay, now I want to ask a question. Yes. What would you like to know? Well, let's go also to this part, altering canvas. And so it's in this part now. What about tunnels? And it gets us to the answer. Now, this is actually how you can implement it. So it's quite easy, but we could extend it a bit more. For example, here we could add a message when we are not so sure about. Could you please rephrase it? Now, from here, we would like to go back to our question and go to this through the same flow. But to do that, you cannot just drag and drop this one. You need to add a message first, and then you get this little circle, and now we can pull it up and link it back to this action. Not this one, to one higher, where we're asking the question. And here we are. Okay, now our message here got loose and we can remove it. So this is a running loop where people actually cannot go out of it. So you could also ask so if they want to get out of the conversation or not. And here we can just say end the conversation with ending with the survey, as we saw in the demo already, or just transfer to an agent. So we'll just end with survey. And we save. So if we call the bot again, I want to ask a question. Yeah, sure. What would you like to know? Well, who is Sammy? That question is not in my knowledge base. So it goes back. Okay, we're not sure about your question. Could you please rephrase it? What would you like to know? And we can go on and we can go on. So this is a very quick demo also about Power Virtual Agent, which is a nice tool. It's very easy to use. As I said here on the analytics side, you get a report. It's a Power BI report that is loading right now. Boom, boom, boom. And there it is. But since this is a new bot, it doesn't have so much data in it. Well, it's just a bot I use for demoing it. Okay. So we see the number of sessions, how many times resolutions are found, what topics are called the most, and so onwards. Now then we have the publish side. Okay, when you want to put it in production, of course, we have our channels. So you see quite a lot of different ones. We have authentication, where you could configure, for example, that a user needs to authenticate before he can actually go in the next steps of that topic. This can be done through Azure Active Directory or any other OAuth provider that is there. And then we have skills, but that I will go back to in my slides. So, is everything possible within Power Virtual Agent? Yes and no. We have language support. Multi-language is, for example, something that is not possible. Things always need to go through topics. As I said, there's no way to have the knowledge, the QnA Maker, as a main item of your Power Virtual Agent chatbot, like you have in Bot Framework Composer, where you could say if there's no topic found with a good scoring, well then send the question to QnA Maker and see if a response, an answer can be found out there. You are limited to what the the user interface accepts what is actually normal, and that's the same with other GUIs. If you do things in code, you're more flexible. But then again, is everything possible? I could also say yes, but not by a business user. If we go back to the virtual agent, you have this item skills, and skills are actually bot framework chatbots that you can add here. So when you want to do advanced stuff in chatbots, well, then it's still possible to do that within Power Virtual Agent, but then you need to plug in your bot framework skill into it. So then everything is actually possible. Let's talk a bit about money. It's always important to know how much things are costing. And the Power Virtual Agent actually cost $1,000 per month for approximately, for 2,000 sessions. And a session is an started interaction between a customer and a bot. And it can be 20 messages or 50, that's one session, or until a handover started. There are possibilities to add capacity to have 1,000 extra sessions, of course, with topping up what you're paying for. You might say that's a lot of money. If you need to build chatbots with bot framework or with other tools, well, you probably will need to pay for a consultant or a developer that needs to build this. This can be done by a business, and it's very intuitional and can be done very fast. So that's also a good way. So it's a bit choosing what you want. Now, this is Power Virtual Agent. Of course, we've been using QnA Maker here today. QnA Maker, you can go absolutely free with it, but it depends on how many users you are going to use it, or how many calls, let's call it like that, because it's an API service. And also on how many knowledge bases you have, because you could have specific knowledge bases for specific departments, for example. It can go from And I'm back. I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi was lost. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I should be back. Okay, as I said, we're reaching also the end of the session. QnA Maker, you can go from 0 to a couple of thousands of euros. That's up to you, and depends on what you want to do with it. And with that, I end my slides and my session. If there's any questions, well, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat right now, or you can always send me a Twitter message, or you can find me on my blog posts. So with that, thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed the talk.